development of energy in Brazil. And the idea is to present you a picture about the production and consumption of energy, present state, and the future, what's planned until 2021. And during the presentation, if you want to make any questions, you can interrupt, no problem. Here you have the outline of my presentation. First is some general comment, and I would like to establish some reference for comparison. Then I will present a brief picture of the present condition of energy issue in Brazil, the evolution of the energy in the last decades, the distribution of the main production across the country, the plan for the next 10 years. I will spend some time specifically with electricity, that is very important in the Brazilian model of energy production, and finally we present a summary. So, first some general comments. I think that before talking about energy, we have to understand what is the background, why energy is so important to Brazil. Here you have the picture of the world, and Brazil is here, and some basic data concerning population, area, population density, the gross domestic product, and the gross domestic product per capita. And only to have some terms of comparison, I placed the data from Japan beside the Brazilian data. So you can see that our population are relatively comparable, though the Brazilian population is about 50% higher than that from Japan. We have a huge area, about 8.5 million square kilometers, 25 more larger than Japan. And then our population density is very low compared with yours, less than 1/10. The gross domestic product is 2,000.4 billions of US dollars. That is less than half of the Japanese one. And the gross domestic product per capita is about 1/3 of that of Japan. It's important to make reference to this data to tell you that the development of energy in Brazil has a special connotation. We are a country under development. The level of life of the population is very low yet. So we need to develop, to bring economical growth, so that we can promote impact in the population. So our plans are intended just to do such kind of result. To have a brief picture of the Brazilian condition related to energy, I present you the picture that shows the consumption, present consumption of energy. This is a very updated data. You can see here the consumption by source and the total amount of consumption of energy of last year in million of equivalent tons of oil, 230 approximately. You can see here that natural gas, mineral coal, and mainly oil are responsible for about half of the consumption. These are non-renewable energy. And electricity is about 18%. We have a large variety of other means to generate energy, and renewable energy also is important. Almost half of the to make some comparison, let's see the picture in the world. If we compare the amount of the consumption in Brazil and the world, we see that Brazil consumes about 3% of the world energy. Okay? And the profile is not very different. You see here, we spend less oil, less mineral coal, and less mineral gas than the world in general. This means that the amount of non-renewable energy in Brazil is lower than in the world, in the total world, not individual countries. So I told that this is the document I based myself to take this data. It's very recent document. So let's consider some specific aspects of this consumption. First, let's tell you that the oil, most of the oil is spent with transportation. Okay, only 10% is used for energy generation. This is a peculiar picture. We have two kinds of renewable energy, main renewable energy. The electricity, that's mainly hydraulic, and some other types, mainly those derived from products of sugarcane. So about 50% is sugarcane bagasse. I don't know if you know what is the bagasse, if the residual. You take the juice from the cane to produce alcohol and so on, and the residual you can burn it to produce energy. Okay, you take advantage of the whole product. And about 50% of the energy produced here, that is about 24%, a large amount, is produced by sugarcane bagasse. 20% ethanol, that is alcohol derived from sugarcane as well. And this is still important in Brazil. About 30% of firewood, but it's not natural vegetation. We plant to get that, okay? And we have some variety here. I will consider it later. Our electricity, about 50% is waste and is spent in industries, and 23% both in residential and commercial and public service. If we compare the consumption versus the production in Brazil, we see that the amount is quite similar. We produce a little more than we consume. And basically, in terms of energy, the country can be considered self-sustainable. We produce basically all the oil we consume. Also, we have several products that produce energy. We are self-sustainable. We export products from the sugar cane, and also a little amount of electricity. Okay. But we import only most of the consumed mineral coal. We do not produce mineral coal, basically. And around 1/3 of the consumed natural gas, we buy it from Bolivia. Though the trend is to finish it because of the new resource we have found, the reserves. So, move on to the next talk. Let's consider how it was the evolution of the energy production in Brazil in the last decade. Here you have the total amount of the production, and here you see a picture that shows from 1970 to this moment. Let's see it, basically. You may see that we have different profiles along the time of type of production, and also we have certain periods of fast growth and periods of stability. So about 1985 and so on, a little before, we have fast growth. It was practically doubled the amount of energy produced here in equivalent oil tons. Then this coincided with rapid growth of the economy in the country. Then we have a stable condition until about a little before 2000, and since then we have a continuous growth. You see that it is now about more than twice the amount we have here. Another point to consider is that the firewood that was very important in the past, it still contributes, but only is a little part of the total production. The production of oil was increased a lot, the gas natural a little. The hydraulic energy is very important, as you may see here. Firewood is still important, and sugarcane products, it's a large amount of energy. These others, there are several things considered. Some of them are renewable energy, others are not. But in synthesis, we can say that non-renewable energy is responsible by about 52%, while renewable energy to around 42%. Indeed, we have to increase both of them to reach the total. This is concerned with this other part that has contribution for both fields. Moving on to the next point, that is the distribution of the main production across the country. We have this picture here, and if we consider some of this product that give main contribution, oil and natural gas, sugarcane products, others, and electricity, we'll see how they are distributed, their production are distributed across the country. Oil and natural gas is responsible to around 52% of the produced energy. And here in this picture, you see where they are produced, mainly in the coast, in this region. We have inland some exploration in Bahia, in the Spar, also in the Amazon area, but they contribute very insignificantly. It's not non-significant, the contribution. Most of the oil and natural gas comes from this region. Here you have a better picture. You can see the part where we explore oil and gas, but the most important is the future. A few years ago, we discovered huge reserves of oil and gas in this region. That it is in the sea, at deep level, called the region that's called pre-salt region. The exploration is not very cheap, but we control already this technology to explore it. So in the next year, the idea is to have a lot of oil coming from this region. This is our future concerning oil and natural gas. Another element that is important is the sugarcane products that are responsible by about 17% of the production of energy in Brazil. Maybe it's the only country that this product is so important. And this picture shows how it is distributed. The plantations of sugarcane and the plants that process. I think we have a better picture here. Let only mention that the sugar cane production is in yellow and the ethanol processing plants are in brown. And the intensity of the color means that there is more concentration of production of cane or the processing plants. Here you see the picture, the same picture. You can see that we have plantation of sugarcane all around the country. And we have also plants distributed, but most of them are concentrated in the southeast area, different from the oil that comes from a specific region. So the plantation is distributed all along the continent, but the high production is concentrated countryside, mainly in the region of São Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Mato Grosso, this region here. I decide only to mention one of these other products, that is the biodiesel. It's an example of production of other that comes from soya. And here you have a picture of the production of soya in Brazil. And you can see in yellow, let me see if I have a graph here as well. Yes. In yellow, you have the plants to process the biodiesel. Okay? It is spread all along the country. So moving to the next talk. What is the plan for the next year concerning energy in general? Here we have the production. There are type of production, okay, and into last year and 2021. You see that the distribution is not very different, but the amount is really different, something around 5% higher, according to my calculation, something like that. This is considered a very significant growth, because if you grow 50% in 10 years, you expect to have a similar impact in the economy. And this expansion is based on the huge increase of the oil reserve that will begin to be explored very soon. In a policy of exploring the huge hydraulic reserves of region north and central west, north mainly in the Amazon area, and the policy to explore other renewable energy sources, notably to increase the sugarcane products, the production of this, and also wind energy. Now I would like to focus specifically on electricity. That is very important in Brazil, because it is basically of the hydraulic type. The production of electricity reveals major interest in the Brazilian case, because it requires basically all the hydraulic energy, most of the demand for natural gas and mineral coal. We import both of them, but they are entirely used to produce energy, basically, electricity. And we spend about 10% of the demand of oil to produce energy, and also most of the demand for other renewable energy. One fundamental aspect to consider the basis for electricity supply is the hydraulic energy in Brazil. All the policy for energy development in Brazil is conditioned by this aspect. Here you see the electricity supply by source. You can see that the hydraulic is responsible for around 82% of all the supply of energy. We have also biomass, about 7%. Wind energy, a short amount, but it is the firm supply, okay? But the capability is larger than that. Natural gas, about 4%. Oil product, nuclear, very small amount. And coal products, 1.4. It is interesting to compare electricity supply versus installed capacity of electricity generated by source. Here you see the installed capacity by source. The total amount is about 120,000 megawatts. And when you look to this picture and see that hydro is responsible for 70%, you see the difference with the previous picture, where we had here the supply of 82% of hydraulic. This is a major issue. You see here our installed capacity of thermal energy. The question is that we only use them when it's really necessary. We have the capacity to generate energy or electricity from thermal, but we let it for restricted periods when we have problems concerning the hydraulic supplement, for example, in the dry season, and even the wind, we have, you see more than here, the wind energy, but as Professor Nucci has said, this is not a firm production of energy. You have the capacity, but when you are producing all the time, and this does not happen really. So we have to plan how to get most of the energy, of the electricity from the hydraulic energy, but it depends on several aspects, and you have to plan it all along the year or along several years, depend on this, the nature's cycle concern weather and so on.
Excuse me, why do you have to avoid using thermal? Because it's kind of unsuitable. Thermal. You see that the
thermal, okay.
Thermal, yeah.
No. This is we got the capacity to generate, but it is too expensive.
Okay.
So we have the capacity in certain moments to ensure that the industries they have energy. We have to use it, but we avoid the most we can. Okay. But we have to be ready because in certain situations we have problem with the supplement of water and so on. Then you need to use the thermal. So, excuse me, after considering this comparison of supply and installed capacity, I would like to mention the Brazilian interconnected system. This Brazilian electrical system consisted of the interconnected system and the isolated system, only about 3.4% of the installed capacity, most of them in the Amazon area. I'll show you soon. So this system is a complex hydrothermal system that is connected by a long transmission grid that connects the south, southeast, midwest, the northeast, and part of the north of Brazil. Here you see the picture that shows this. The isolated system, they exist only in the north region. We need that because you have some cities that are completely isolated in this region, and there is no economic excuse to construct a transmission line to this point. It would be too expensive. So we have isolated system, but very few. Most of the system is integrated by this SIM. The southeast Midwest is responsible for about 69% of the amount of electricity involved in the country. The northeast about 20%, the south 7%, the north 5%. And the planning operation of the Brazilian electrical system is very complex, as I'll show you in the next slide, because you see here we have the transmission line that connects this hydrothermal system, and the distances are very large. So let's refer first for the connection between the north and southeast that is done by this transmission system that is about 2.4 thousand kilometers long. We have a connection, 500 kV connection at this point, and we have another connection that are under construction presently. We have this transmission system that's called Tucuruí because of the plant, hydraulic plant that supply it, the main hydraulic plant, about 2,000 kilometers long as well, with two levels of transmission line. We have the Itaipu transmission system, about 1,000 kilometers long, connected São Paulo, Minas Gerais to the border to Paraguay. We have two links direct current and alternate current here. We have the northeast transmission system, a little more than 1,000 kilometers, a connection in 500 kV transmission line. So this is a complex system because if you lose one of these connections, you affect the whole system. So the stability is very difficult to control. So plan this system is a very important question. This is another very important issue here is the response of the transmission system to lightning that are very common. We have very high intensity of light in Brazil, and sometimes they are responsible for outage of the system. And the lightning is not the problem, but the disturbance that follows it is a serious problem. To maintain the stability of the power system is a very complex issue. So, here you have, I will consider now some of the installed capacity. Here you see the thermal generation, only a picture, the number of plants of diesel oil, natural gas, fuel oil, coal, refinery gas, and so on. And the distribution, you can see they are distributed all along the country, but most of them in this region, at the coast, that is the developed region. The other region is very sparsely populated. If we consider the thermal generation, the renewable one, that concerns mainly sugarcane, vegetable residual, biomass in general, you have this number of plants. And this picture shows you that we have units of plants all along the country, but they are more concentrated in this region, mainly because of the production of sugarcane that is very concentrated here, and this is the major industrial area in the country. I skipped this one. This means skip. This refers to wind generation, but I will comment on the next picture. We have wind farms, most of them in the coast, in the north coast mainly. You see here some of the wind farms and a picture of some of them. I don't like them very much because I prefer the beaches without such kind of thing. It disturbs me when I go there. But anyway, it's a renewable energy. It's better than burning oil.
You don't like this wind farm, you don't?
Not when I'm in the beach.
How is it?
I look to it's very good. And you look just in your back, you see that thing is not good. Not good here.
Are modern forests.
I prefer the old forest. Okay, and this is important. You see here the nuclear generation. We have only 2 single plants in the whole country. We have reserves, but only in Angra do Rei, that is very close to Rio de Janeiro, we have these 2 single plants. And they produce about 2% of the energy of the country. And there are a plan only to construct one more at the same region. And I think different of Carlo Alberto in this case. I prefer no one of them. If they could be closed, I would prefer. This is a personal
So you
opinion.
are against nuclear?
Yes, I'm against nuclear, completely. If you have no other solution, but in our case, we have a lot of solutions.
But it is because in Brazil,
Huh?
in Italy, it's impossible.
Yes, exactly. If you have another solution.
Yeah.
The concept is we have to do and we have to deal with radioactive material, even for medicine. We cannot forget.
Oh,
It's important to
yes,
study.
this is I agree. At my university, we have a center inside it that research radioactivity. Okay,
Yeah.
but to produce energy in Brazil, no,
Yeah,
Maybe in
you
Italy
can,
today.
yes. Even in Norway, they can do with water.
Yeah.
Hydro, 100%. You're right.
So, and let's consider it's more, a little more detail the hydro generation. Here you see the plants with all the hydro plants distributed across the country. We have a lot in the southeast area. It is already run up. I think we have no more reserves here to explore. And presently, the largest planter under operation are the Itaipu plant in the Paraná River, in the border with Paraguay. Indeed, Brazil constructed, but it belongs half to Brazil, half to Paraguay. But we buy practically all the energy that is produced. And it's a huge amount of energy you see here, for 14,000 megawatts. We have the Tucuruí in Tocantins River in the Amazon area, the Xingó River, it is in the northeast, not river, São Francisco River, Paulo Afonso also in San Francisco, and finally, Ilha Solteira. These are the five first plants, I mean, in amount of energy they can produce. And now I refer to the main plants under construction. You can see that they are all being installed in the north region. Belo Monte, you see, almost equal to Itaipu, the Xingu River. The Tapajós complex, a set of plants. If you sum it, is something similar to this value also. The Telespires complex, not so big, but a lot of, about 4, if I'm not wrong, 4,000 megawatts. And finally, the Madeira River complex, about 6.5 thousand megawatts. As you may see, all of them are placed in this region that is scarcely populated, okay, sparsely populated. Here you have the views. And the main concerns in relation to such plants is environmental concern. It's not easy to construct them. We have to take care of several things, not only of the plants, but the transmission line that crosses the forest and so on. And this is a very serious issue in Brazil presently. It delays the project and so on because the people are very strict concerning environmental conditions, and they are right, in my opinion. So, and what about the plan in the next 10 years for electricity? In 2011, we used to produce 120 gigawatts approximately. And in 2015, this number will increase to 144, and in 2021 to 182. This means a growth about 56% of the generation of electricity. And if you consider the evolution of installed capacity by source, you may see this picture of source. There are something in Portuguese here, but you can understand. In general, practically all the types of generation will increase around 50%. But there are some specific types that will increase more. If you consider this one, that is the wind. Okay, now we have about 1 gigawatts. And next year, not next year, in 2 years, it will be 8 gigawatts. Okay, we have a lot of investment in this area in Brazil, several plants under construction. Presently, you see, this is from 2011. Presently, we have more than 2.4, almost 3 at the end of this year. We'll go to 8 gigawatts, and at this point, 16 gigawatts, being responsible for around 10% of the total amount of generated energy. Huge increase. Okay.
Silverio,
Okay.
who is delivering these documents? Is the government, there is an agency, or energy agency in Brazil?
Yes, yes. I can send you the document.
Thank you.
I have it.
Thank
I
you.
can give it to you.
So you do have a plan?
Yes.
Contrary to it.
All this presentation is based on this plan.
Yeah.
Not on, we have two documents basically. That's the state, the present state,
Yeah.
and the plan.
And the
for
plan. And the
next
plan
10
is
years.
as government issued?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But most of the investments are private investments.
Sure, no, this is another
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Sure, thank you.
So, and the other interesting is biomass. You see, it is 8 gigawatts here and goes to 13 gigawatts to remain the same amount, but you may see it's a considerable parcel of the total. This hydro generation, include this part and also this one, that is a kind of small generation, and also this one, the blue one as well. So most will remain in hydraulic type, okay? And nuclear will increase in about 50%, because you see here 2 gigawatts, 3 gigawatts. This is the additional plant that is planned to be ready in some years. Okay, so in summary, I can say about the present condition that Brazil consumes about 3% of the energy produced in the world. Basically, in terms of energy, the country is self-sustainable. The profile shows that about 45% of the produced energy is renewable. This number tends to increase in the future. And we have some specific patterns in our matrix of generation. Hydraulic is very important. Sugarcane products are very peculiar. Firewood, that is very used in siderurgy, mainly in Brazil, and the electricity in general is very important. What are the prospects? To consider them, we have to take into account some relevant factors, some of them recent. The discovery of huge oil reserves in the sea is relatively recent, less than 6 years. The policy to explore the hydraulic potential in the North region is an important aspect, because it's not so cheap because of the very long transmission line to connect that system with the southeast, that's where the industrial part is placed in Brazil. And also the policy of high investments in renewable energy, mainly wind, sugar cane, and wood fires. And also, we can consider that we have expectation of a significant increase on the energy in the next 10 years, about 50% is the expected increase in the production. And a trend to increase the parcel of renewable energy. Conclusion, we expect a positive and social and economic impact of the production growth in Brazil. And I have a personal comment that for me this is a key issue to improve the results. Oil is still a large parcel of the energy we produce, and most of it is spent with transport, but mainly because we don't have an efficient public transport system. This is something awful in Brazil. Every person has a car. This is the way to go to the work. We do not catch a metro. Well, we have metro, but the amount is very small. You don't go by train. There is not a defined policy to invest on that. This, in my opinion, is a mistake. If we could invest heavily on that, we could decrease the amount of oil required substantially. This would be very nice. And I hope that the next government will be open to this question for, let's say, 10-year investment in the area. So in this case, we could really have a very nice matrix of energy. In addition to 2 hours, that is relatively good at the moment. So that's all I have to say. You, please. If you have questions.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. First, why you need to increase the energy supply 50% within the 10 years?
Let me answer this question first. This is the reason why I placed the first slide. We are not a developed country. For example, if you are in Europe, they can only improve the quality. Okay, they have a high level of life. In Brazil, there are too many poor people. And to have good jobs, to increase the level of life, we need to increase. There's no way. It's not only possible to distribute what we have. We need to increase the economy substantially. And this is the idea. If we increase 50% energy, we expect to have a similar growth of the economy and with a similar impact in terms of social effect. The second one?
Second one is, you are producing a lot of sugarcane in Brazil.
Yes.
And you have a possibility to increase the renewable energy.
Yes.
So, and actually your estimate percentage of using the sugarcane 60.
Let me see this.
To increase more 5% from 2012 to 2021.
Okay.
So, what is challenges for you to increase to use sugarcane? So, technical or financial?
You mean the main reason to increase the...
No, I heard, no. What is challenges for you? What is difficulty?
The sugarcane production is developed by the private companies or the owners of the farms and so on. So there are defined policies to support with money the development of this. But it's not possible to plant sugarcane in all the country. And they have already a lot of stimulus because, when the cost of the sugar in the international market becomes very good, they decrease the production of ethanol and sell it. When the price is not so good, they have the government that buy all the ethanol they produce. So this is a very attractive business. So, and the growth, about 50% is a huge growth. I think it's difficult to get growth higher than this one. It's enough, I think so. Okay.
I have a question about what is the total capacity of a nuclear generator station? You have 2 nuclear stations, you said. It's about 2.5%, but how much in gigawatt?
Here you see, 2,000 megawatts.
2 gigawatt.
Yeah.
So that means the 2 gigawatt means your plant wind farm becomes 4 times greater than.
Yes.
今福島じゃなくて柏崎の原発、日本で最大の原発、今のところ世界で最大だけど、これが6ギガワット。ギガってややこしいけどね、6000メガワット。メガもややこしいけど、6000かける10の3乗、もっとしいから、ギガは10の9乗だけど、柏崎が現時点では世界最大の原子力発電所で、6基発電機なんだけど、それ6ギガワット。で、今ブラジルなのが1ニュークリア1ギガワット、2ギガワットだから まあちょっと2ギガワってことは2000メガワットところに美浜が450の9、大体美浜の原子力発電所が2ギガワット。美浜と同程度の原子力発電所がブラジルに2つで同程度。で、まあ彼の話では、in 2 years you said 8ギガワットで wind power。だから、まあ福島じゃなくて柏崎と美浜合わせてぐらいの風力発電所を作りましょうよと。広いからね、国がね。日本にそれだけ作ったら泳ぐとこなくなるしじゃないけど。
In 2021, it will not 8 gigawatt, but 16.
Okay, 16, yeah.
More.
Yes, yes. But do you believe this 1 gigawatt wind farm? Can you generate 1 gigawatt hour? No.
No, of course not. This is why our system is based in hydraulic. The
Sure.
base is hydraulic. You
You
complement
yes.
with coal
Exactly.
and so on.
Yeah, Brazil is so happy, so lucky because of the hydraulic power. 水力っていうのは動かしっぱなしじゃなくて燃料費いらない、水流しないからね。まあ、常に安定して出力できるから24時間発電で。で、さっき誰か火力はなぜかってあんなもん高いし、CO2 は出すし、汚いし、彼が今ある意味でbecause of the yellow sand together with NOx and SOx 中国から今 PM 攻撃で彼多分それでアレルギーブラジルはそれないから Just I'm explaining about you already started today because of this the yellow sands with NOx and SOx which generated were produced by the thermal power station and also car automobile. So just about
May I have a question? Yes, sir. Most of your electricity supply come from hydro, about 80%.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, but as you know, the hydro power operates depending on the season, rainy or dry season.
Yes, there is a dry season in Brazil,
Yes, sir.
But dry season in Brazil is not so dry.
Okay,
Yes,
I see.
you have
always
fluctuation, but
green.
not really. It does not
Okay, I see.
miss water. What happens that during the regular period in the year, you can use the fully production, and during certain period it reduces 10%, something
Just
like that
really,
one.
yeah.
So you complement with coal and oil and so on,
Okay, thank you.
and wind.
In Hanoi, he comes from Vietnam. In your case,
Yes,
there's
sir.
a
That's
Korea
only
dry season
yes,
and the
not
rainy
only
season.
30% hydropower plants can operate in dry season.
Okay.
Yeah, in dry season. だから
Yes, sir.
ベトナムでは寒気には水力発電所で水が足らないから 30% 分しか使えないよと。ブラジルはほとんど年中水があるからだけ。便利だ。
And probably in the future, the variation will be lower because most of the new plants are in the Amazon area and they do not have problem with dry period.
That's
dry
right.
period.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you keep the forest. That's a problem. If you put so much biogas from woods, then maybe dry season will come like just like China and Sunken Dam. That because of that big dam, now the desert started and this yellow sands. 中国ではね、三峡ダム、僕もかなり中国講義やってたんですよ、とかで。で、彼ら何人か、中国人のいる前で言えないけど、僕の前では三峡ダム絶対反対した科学者かなりいた。けどその当時それ言ったらみんな、命がなくなるかどうか消えてなくなるか知らんけどね。でやっと2年前に三峡ダムには反対だったいうアセスメントレポートがやっと公表されてね。で一つ問題はあの辺りってのは知ってると思うけど動く湖って知ってる。川が消えてこの他のところに現れる。で要するに川の流れ変わってるんだけど三峡ダムで止めてしまったら川が完全に消えてしまって漁業を作るだけね。でデザートか砂漠化が進んでブラジルもね、just I'm talking about the desert in China because it's big dam. And then I'm afraid in Brazil if
Yeah, but you know, presently the environmental issue is very serious in Brazil. For example,
Yes.
The impact of each one of these plans is studied very carefully. It's very hard to approve it. And if you consider the total area, it is relatively very small in terms of the country. I don't think the impact of them are important. The most important impact in the Amazon area is from farmers. They burn, and it's very difficult to control. And also the people that log.
Yeah.
And not only from Brazil, people from,
Yeah.
sometimes you have an Indian reserve, they contact them, and it's done in a hidden way. No one can see it. So when you discover you have a large area that was destroyed, this is really bad. We try to control, but you see, it's so large territory that it's not possible. When you arrive there, they have moved to another place. This is the main problem, in my opinion.
Is the Brazilian national electricity sector, is it privatized? Does it belong to a private entity or within the government control?
No, we have a mixed system. We have a few power utility that they are semi-privatized. Government controls it, okay? And we have a lot of power utilities that are private of type. And we have regulatory agents that works very hard to control the things. This is one of the problems, the quality of everything, including the new transmission line, the new plants. You have to take care very much of it because the ones that who invest there, they don't want to spend money. So sometimes the quality, frequently I have been called to work as a consultant in a transmission line, full of problems because when it was constructed, the one that get the possibility to construct did not apply enough money to ensure the good quality. But now they are penalized by very heavy fine.
Because that's very important for the tariff as well, for the consumption prices.
So, but the system is working. We are learning with this new model, and it's working. At least you see, before that, we have a stable production. And when we have the system where part of the power utilities were privatized and so on, we begin to have a continuous increase in the growth of the energy production. So the investments are very large now in Brazil. In this area.
Enough money for the moment.
Yes, and concerning this question, usually the private companies, they can get money from government at low rates to apply. Usually there are funds for that as well. And I do not agree so much with that because I think they are earning too much money, and we are paying for that.